Hey everyone, Chuck here, the Trail Dancer, and I have an exciting video for you today. We're going to talk about my favorite tools used for bushcrafting, camping, or the outdoors, and which ones I think are important for you to get started with your own bushcrafting kit. So if you like the outdoors, camping, bushcrafting, all that good stuff, please stay tuned. Welcome back everyone, and today, like I said, we're going to discuss the tools I have in my bushcrafting / outdoor kit, which ones are my favorites, which ones are the most versatile, which ones do I use the most, and what I think you need to do to get started or upgrade your current bushcrafting kit to make it more effective, more versatile, and more reliable. With that said, let's get started. Before we get started talking about the individual tools, I just want to make a few notes. One, I've divided these tools into two categories: the must-haves and the variable or interchangeable items. Number two, these tools are not designed to replace the 10/13 essentials that I think are important for backpacking, hiking, or the outdoors. I think you should carry those at all times anyways. Number three, there's a lot of great information out there for the outdoors, a lot of great bushcrafters on YouTube. I will put some information in the description below, some links, so you can go check some of my favorite bushcrafters out for further information to build your skills. I'm not going to go into every single detail about every one of the tools I have here. I'll give a general overview of the brand and what I have, and I'll put information in the description below so you guys can go check out each one of these tools on your own time. Let's start by talking about tool number one. That is a good solid bushcraft or field backpack. So this happens to be the Fjällräven Abisko Hike 35. And you know I love Fjällräven, and I think they're one of the best companies in the world, if not the best company in the world for the outdoors. Other companies I like are Savota out of Finland, and there's a few other ones I like as well for bushcrafting. I just think Fjällräven is stellar in this particular market. What are the things I look for when selecting or purchasing a good field bushcrafting backpack? One, obviously durable materials throughout the entire pack, not just on a little bit of it. Hopefully reinforcement on the base of the pack. So if I'm walking through the bush, hitting twigs and sticks, or throwing my pack on the ground, I'm going to have confidence that that is not going to rip my pack open. Number two, I look for good quality zippers. Hopefully with good zipper pulls. So if I have gloves on, I can open my pack up with gloves. Number three, I want a good set of latch points throughout the entire pack. I have them in this pack on the top, on the hip belt, on the sides, all over the place. I like to have latch points to hang other tools off of my pack and feel confident that those latch points are not going to break. Number four, I want to make sure I have a really good grab handle. Really solid big one, because I don't want this to be difficult to hang my pack off the ground if I need to do so. I don't want this to be ma fan for my Chinese speaking friends. Ho ma fan la is not good, means it's troublesome. I want to make sure that it's easy for me to hang this pack up when I need to. Number five, I want to make sure that my back panel is not a suspended mesh, because if it is, in the winter time, snow can accumulate and stick to that mesh, making my back cold and wet. So I want a flat panel here that's still comfortable, both on my hip belt, my shoulder straps, and the back panel. That's one thing I look for. And finally, for me, personal choice, I like my pack with a lot of different organization features. Like I want to be able to access my inner pack from a side zipper. That's really a plus for me. I have a pocket on the brain on the top and inside the brain. I have a front pocket as well. I like a lot of organization. That's a personal preference. Some people don't care about that, but for me, I do. As far as hip belt pockets, I tend to not have them on my field or bushcrafting backpacks, because it's just one more thing that can get caught on the sticks or branches. So anyways, tool number one. And I think that is a must-have, because you have to have something to carry all the other tools in. So a good field backpack is number one. Number two is a good set of outdoor gloves. As you know, I just did a review of the Hestra felt guide gloves. I'll put a link up there. These happen to be the Hestra Odin gloves, which are another non-insulated leather glove. This is elk leather, and it also has fire retardant thread. I think a good set of gloves are really important for safety, because when you're working with wood or anything else, you don't want to get really bad splinters or cuts or what have you out there in the middle of nowhere. I think this is a must-have as well. Yeah, you can go to your local hardware store and pick up a pair of gardening gloves, what have you. That will probably suffice for you. And there's a lot of lower quality gloves that will last a long time. You don't have to buy Hestra. I think Hestra is the best gloves in the world. They also make a glove called the Mora, which I really like as well. It just says I have the fire retardant thread. It's made with a different leather. You could also buy from Outdoor Research. They have a lot of good quality gloves as well, and a lot of other companies out there, as you all know. But regardless of company you choose, I think you need to have a really good set of leather or good quality outdoor gloves. Those are must-haves. Also, I have to mention that I like gloves that have these eyelets so I can keep them together or latch them onto my pack or my pants or what have you. I really like the fact that this helps me not lose gloves, as I mentioned in my other video. That really is a plus for me. A lot of gloves at Home Depot or what have you, or your local hardware store, Lowe's, they don't have that ability. So for me, that's really important in a good outdoor glove, is to or any glove for me, is to have that latch point. And just make sure they fit, guys. You should have just a little clarification. When you put a glove on, in a good outdoor glove, you should have 1/4 of an inch at the top at the maximum. You shouldn't have too much room, wiggle room in here. You want this to be a little bit more dexterous than normal because you're handling tools, and the more sloppy your gloves are or floppy the gloves are, the more chances of injury or not using that tool correctly. So make sure they fit. It's got to fit like a glove. Now let's move on to the variable tools I have in my kit, things that I think can be interchanged based on what I'm using these tools for and where I'm going, when I'm going, what have you, the weather, the trail, the environment, what have you. All that stuff matters when I'm selecting my tools, when I'm taking them into the backcountry. So with that said, let's start by talking about tool number 3. And that is a really solid bushcraft knife. This happens to be the Benchmade 162. I've had this for about 5 years. So what features do I think are important when selecting a good bushcrafting knife? Well, let's start by talking about the sheath. I want the sheath, for my opinion, to be leather. Kydex is okay, but as long as it has a lot of different latch points, I can put this on my belt. I can put this hanging off my pack. I also want a really good fastener to keep my knife secure so the sheath does not fall off or the knife is not lost. It's really important. Now let's talk about the knife. Obviously, I want good quality steel. This happens to be SP30, which really is good. I don't really care what grind it is. However, I usually prefer Scandi grinds for the outdoors, but it all depends on what you're doing with it, right? I usually like a bushcrafting knife to have a full tang. The other thing I want to make sure is I have a little bit of a longer blade. I don't want a Rambo 17-inch blade. I want something that is pretty dexterous. I also, for me personally, like a finger guard on all of my knives. I am very accident prone, and a lot of knives don't have this finger guard here, and so the likelihood of slicing my finger open goes up like 1 billion times for me. So I want to make sure that the knife fits me well in the hand. So that's one thing I want to say. I have a lot of bushcrafting knives. I have my favorites, and there's some I really want, but they just don't fit my hand right. So make sure when you buy a knife, it's got to fit you just like a glove does. It's got to feel comfortable in your hand. So when you're using these knives, the tool becomes an extension of your arm and your mind. I know that sounded very samurai of me. But anyways, yeah, so a good bushcrafting knife. I also like the knife to have some kind of way to put a string or a lanyard on. That's really important too as well, just in case, especially if you're buying a neck knife. But for a bushcrafting knife, just make sure that it can handle a lot of abuse. So what good things can knives do for you? Well, this is great for chopping, like vegetables or preparing food. It's great for batoning to prepare a fire. It's great for whittling if I want to make a spoon or something. The knife, we all know, has so many applications to it. It's something really, really important to invest in. And if you're going to invest in this, make sure you invest in something really good quality. So tool number 3 would be a really good bushcrafting knife. So let's move on to tool number 4. That is a good quality axe or hand hatchet. This happens to be the Grand Force Brooks outdoor axe, and this is the best axe company in the world. So what characteristics do I look for in an axe? One, I want a really good sheath that I can hang this off my belt or make sure it's secure. I prefer leather as for my sheaths. I also want to make sure that the way they close the sheath does not cause damage to the front of my blade. A lot of times the sheath will do that, so just make sure. I also want to make sure it has a collar guard here. Now, this particular axe, the outdoor axe by Grand Force Brooks, which was designed by Lars Felt, like the gloves I just reviewed, link above again. This one actually has it built in, but you can also do it by doing your own leather kit, or they have them on Amazon, what have you. A lot of companies will make them for each individual axe company. So that basically prevents overstrike damage to your tool. So that's why you have to practice with this. I also want to make sure my blade is super sharp, and yeah, I want to make sure it's good quality material for the handle. The handle's really soft, smooth, and has a tack to it, so it doesn't fly out of my hands. I want to make sure that it's very secure when they attach the axe blade to the handle, which this one is. Grand Forest Brooks, if you know, to me is the best axe company in the world, and I've only had this one for about maybe 2 months now, and I've been using it all the time. I love it so much. I think it's one of my favorite tools I've ever purchased. So what things can you do with an axe? Well, obviously I can prepare more wood items than I can with the knife, although the knife is very good for batoning and whittling. I can actually fell a tree with this. I can chop up small branches for kindling or firewood. I could also prepare an onion. I could also chop up some vegetables. I've done it before with this. It's really nice. I should have brought a vegetable so I can do it for you guys, but I don't want to waste the vegetable. But take my word for it. You can prepare. I can also carve with this. Notice that my hand comes deep in here. I can also whittle and do things with this as long as my blade is sharp. So axe to me is highly valuable as a tool for the outdoors and bushcrafting. Yeah, so that's the Grand Forest Brooks axe. That's the outdoor axe. The other one I recommend is the Grand Forest Brooks small forest axe, which I also have. Now, if you don't have the money to spend on that quality of axe, they run about 150 to 200 US dollars. You could also buy a cheaper version of like a Gerber or something that has good quality, but not as good quality to me as this. Let's go on to tool number 5, and that is a handsaw. So this happens to be the Silky Gumboy 240 curved. Yeah, it's like a wah! I just want to do that every time I pull this out. Anyways, gotta wipe the blood off now. This can really do a lot for you when it comes to wood and preparing fires. Getting through trails, getting through brush. This is a really good thing to do. It's good for safety, but obviously it's not going to be as versatile as the knife or the axe. But this is a very specifically used tool for a very specific purpose. I prefer the Gumboy axes by Silky. I think they're amazing. I like the curved version. The most popular one is probably the 210 curved, or the Gumboy 210. And they're both really, really good. Let's see if I put this in right this time. I did, yay. They also come with a leather case. I haven't bought one, but I usually just carry it in this if I'm gonna use it. But that's the hand saw, really good and valuable if you're preparing a lot of wood, obviously. Now let's move on to tool number 6, and that is a good multi-tool. This happens to be the Leatherman Charge Plus. I love multi-tools. Now I think Victorinox and Leatherman make the best in the world. I prefer Leatherman because they're based out of Portland, Oregon, which is close to me. The customer service and the reliability is superior to everything. I would say only one that rivals that is probably Victorinox or Swiss Army, which I do. I have a Huntsman knife that I've had for, I don't know, 35 years. So which tools do I think you should have on a good multi-tool? One, I think you need a good blade for chopping up or preparing your food or what have you, or anything else you want to do. I think you need a good saw, which is really nice for small sticks and preparing kindling, what have you. Really important. I also like things like a serrated edge and a bottle opener, of course, and one of my most important things on a multi-tool, I think, is a pair of scissors or an awl. Those two things are really important for repairs. My scissors, try cutting a piece of Leukotape with this, not going to be as effective, or try cutting a Band-Aid with this, not going to be as effective. You can do it with a knife, obviously, but this is so much easier in your hand. This has a screwdriver, has a Phillips, both standard and Phillips. It's got everything. This thing can cook breakfast for you in the morning. My sister bought this for me for Christmas. I traded it in for and upgraded this one to the Charge Plus. She got me another model, but this has been amazing. I love this thing. It's really cool. This also has a file. It's got everything. But a good multi-tool to me is a good case is really important. I carry this regardless. I even have a small mini Leatherman that I carry even if I'm through hiking. This is something I take regardless. I think for safety, this is one of the best and most versatile pieces of tool you can have in all your kits, even through hikers, backpackers, bushcrafters, put in your car, what have you. A good multi-tool is epic. Tool number 7, the Ferro Rod. Ferro Rod. So this is a way to start your fire if you have good fire starter material. If you have fat wood or cotton soaked in Vaseline or anything else you use for starting a fire to prime it, it's really valuable. Now, do I think this is really that necessary? You should have a small one, at least in your first aid kit or your kit. For me, this is really valuable, especially if it's cold weather, but I tend to carry a lighter instead, like this, a big old flamethrower, or a small mini Bic or a regular Bic. I think it's just as reliable, especially if it gets wet. You just blow and dry it out. I carry this one when I'm bushcrafting because I can get down into wood a lot easier. I think it's really, really valuable. Now, I won't take this when I'm through hiking, but it's really small, it's really light. I can put it into my pockets. It doesn't take that much room, and it has a good supply of fuel. So do I think this is important? Yeah, you should have one. Have a small one. Primus makes a really nice small one you can wear around your neck, and it's very effective. Now, moving on to my final piece of tool that I think is important, and it may be something that you might overlook, and that is a good bushcrafting jacket. This happens to be the Fjall Raven Singi trekking jacket, all G1000 material, really heavy duty. If I'm walking through sticks and bushes or what have you, this is not gonna rip. If I'm wearing a puffy jacket made from polyester, it's probably gonna rip the first time I go through the bush. So I want something for my outerwear, whether it be my pants or my jacket, to be something really solid and reliable that can both keep me warm and keep me safe from splinters or sticks puncturing me. Now that we've talked about the tools I think are really important to have in a basic bushcrafting kit, let's talk about a couple principles that are really important to me when I help outfit people or steer them in the right direction for bushcrafting, backpacking, or hiking. Principle number 1, I tend to save my money and buy better quality equipment that I think is going to be reliable, durable, has a good warranty, the company has a good reputation, and I feel good buying from that company, whether it be sustainability reasons or the way they treat you from a customer service standpoint. I think that's really important. Now, example, like the Ground Forest Brooks do it. Can I buy a hatchet or an axe that's going to be a lot cheaper than this that will do the job? Of course. But this is going to last me probably the rest of my life if I upkeep it. Do I need to spend a lot of money on all this stuff? No. I do it because I like to collect good equipment, and I use this equipment, and it's reliable for me. Can you get into bushcrafting, hiking, or backpacking for cheap? Yes, you can. There are a lot of great companies out there like Decathlon and Walmart. They have a lot of good quality products that you can get into go out. And the main thing, obviously, guys, is to go out there and have fun. So you don't need to spend a fortune to have fun. Get something that will be fun for you in your budget to go out there. But if you can save, if you like doing this in the outdoors, if you want to thru hike, if you want to take backpacking up seriously, then invest in some good quality equipment with good warranties and good durability. Something that you're going to be comfortable and confident about when you're out there in the backcountry. Number 2, maintenance. Know how to treat and maintain your equipment. This axe is not going to keep itself upkept without my help. In other words, I have to oil my sheath to make sure the sheath doesn't dry out and crack. I got to make sure that the blade is oiled after every use. I make sure I clean my axe and I oil the axe. I make sure I oil the handle here or wax it. In my case, I want to make sure that wax is applied there so the wood doesn't ruin, that the blade doesn't rust, and I know how to sharpen it, or I know somewhere to take it to sharpen. Make sure you know how to maintain and upkeep your good equipment. Why invest on all this equipment if you don't know how to take care of it? It's a waste of money, in my opinion. If that's the case, then just go out and buy cheap stuff that's disposable. This is not disposable equipment. I want to make sure I know how to keep it up and know how to maintain it. Principle number 3, and that is the most important one of all of them, is know how to use the tools. Tools are just tools, right? If you don't know how to use it, it's going to be pointless. Know how to use an axe. This is a lot of information, a lot of safety that goes in with using one of these things. The do's and don'ts, for sure. You get injured by an axe, you could break an arm or sever arteries. Same with a knife. So make sure that you know it. Go out there on YouTube or what have you, find a local class at REI or a local bushcrafting class. Tons of them all over the world. There's tons of information out there, and I'll put, again, some links in the description below so you can check out some channels that offer great tips on all this stuff, including how to sharpen an axe or how to use an axe, how to use different techniques in using knives and or even Leathermans, what have you. There's a lot of information out there on this, and I think that's really important. Don't just get your tool, go out and bushcraft by yourself, not knowing how to do this stuff. That's how bad things happen. That's when search and rescue starts getting called. So make sure that you know how to use your equipment. Number 4, always have safety in numbers when you first do this. Practice, but I always say get a friend, go to a local meeting group, like a meetup group, and find a group of people that will go out there with you to do this if you're just beginning. Don't try this by yourself at first. I think it's really dangerous. You can do it and be okay, but start small. If you got a bushcraft, go to a small place like I'm out here in a small campground area. Go out here and bushcraft a little bit and learn and get comfortable with the stuff out in the wilderness. Find out how to chop down some small or fell some small trees and prepare a good fire by yourself, whether even using a flamethrower or a ferrocerium rod or matches, what have you. I always carry matches in my first aid kit as well. Like I said, we're not talking about the 10 essentials, but yeah, guys, I mean, be smart about things in the wild. Make sure you have the confidence and the skills necessary to do what you want to do. So now we talked about some principles, some tools. Let me go through a brief overview of what tools I think are good for what purposes. Pretty easy to do. Backpack is good for doing a lot of things. You can store things in, you can put your food, all your gear, obviously, right? Gloves are good for safety reasons, right? You don't want to get splinters, you don't want to burn yourself, and I can use these by putting logs on the fire or taking pots off the grill, what have you. These are really handy in so many ways. That's why I think these two are a must. A knife. We all know the uses of knives. They can do so many things, but in the backcountry, don't forget this can be used for batoning. You know, that means splitting wood. You basically use another stick and pound it down. And I'll show you some of these techniques later, but I'll put some information in the description below as well. But the knife is so versatile in so many ways. It also could be used for protection too, right? So if you really get into a scrap or a situation, you don't ever want to be there, but if you do, you have this to help you. The same thing with the axe. The axe can be used as a safety weapon as well. And the axe is really good because it can really do a lot of things with wood. You can carve with this, you can cook with this, you can fell small trees with this, you can protect yourself with this. Another good versatile tool. The folding saw is probably the least versatile of all the tools here. It's very specific on what it's used for. We use this one mainly to prepare firewood, to saw things in half, to clear away areas. Very important. A saw is really important, but it's very specific in use. The multi-tool, of course, we all know, you all probably have one of these at home. Leathermans are amazing. They're not that expensive. This one particularly runs 150 bucks. It's one of the more expensive ones out there. But I got the camo pattern and I got the Charge Plus, which is just really nice. My sister got me the Signal, which is meant for use in the outdoors, but I found that I wasn't going to be using that whistle that much or the ferrocerium rod that much, but the Signal is another great one to get from Leatherman. Ferrocerium rods, there's tons on Amazon. You can get a good one like this one for about 15 bucks. Really good, solid, and long lasting. Remember, there's a lot of technique with these too, guys. Can this start a fire when you need it? Yes, but you need to have a fire starter. You need to know how to use it. I always carry a flamethrower just in case. This one can get down into the wood and I can start that. It's really, really handy for me. I love using these. I know a lot of people laugh at me for having this, but I don't care, man. Hike your own hike, bushcraft your own bushcraft. That's what I use. Tools are very personal things. That's why I buy the Grandfors Brooks, because I love the history of the company and I like the feel of it in my hand. It's just what it is, man. It's part of the game is gear. I love gear. That's why I have a gear channel, right? I'm a gear freak, gear head, like all of us out there. The other thing that's really interesting too, I always carry, I don't mean to say this, but this is really cool to have. I always carry a keychain thermometer on my packs. This is by Sun. You can buy these for like $5, $6. This is really good to have to see where the weather is, the temperature is, what you're looking at. It's really nice because sometimes your phone, you don't have signal, you don't have a way to check your temperature for the highs and lows. This one I can just, if I really need to, I can use my phone or a piece of paper and chart the weather patterns if I'm out there for a long time. That pretty much sums up my brief overview of the tools I carry in my bushcrafting slash outdoor kit. I tend to use my bushcrafting knife, my hand hatchet or axe, and my Leatherman multi-tool the most of all the tools I have here, besides of course my backpack, my gloves, and my bushcrafting clothes. The least used tools are the Ferro Rod and my silky hand saw. I hope this inspires you to either upgrade your equipment or build your own bushcrafting slash outdoor kit. If you have any questions or need help on where to get started, where to buy the stuff, please note that in the comments below. I'll get back to you. You can also message me as well. I also do pack shakedowns and outfit gear for people on thru hikes or backpacking adventures. So if you're interested in that, if you subscribe to my Patreon, that's one of the items that you get when you join. I really appreciate your support, guys. Thank you so much for coming by. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. Hit the like button and hit that bell for notifications on future upcoming content. I have a lot coming. So again, thank you guys. Arigato gozaimasu. Sayonara. Mata ne. Check out. Peace.